So I've been having a pretty difficult time deciding exactly who I should make my next character study about. I mean, the horror genre has no shortage of iconic villains, so who do I choose from? And then suddenly it dawned on me. Instead of picking a character from a movie or TV show or whatever, I should go ahead and pick a character from a video game. So the character that I decided to make a video about was Daniel Lamb from the game Manhunt 2. I considered doing it on James Earl Cash from Manhunt 1, but there were a couple reasons I decided against this. One, simply put, I prefer Manhunt 2, and the other reason is because in terms of plotline, Manhunt 2 is the better game. We get a deeper insight into Daniel's background than we would James's. And, the more I know about the background of a character, the easier it is for me to make these videos. So, without further ado, here's Danny from Manhunt 2. Just a quick warning. If you're squeamish at all, you might not want to watch this video. I couldn't find my copy of the game, so I had to go online and get some. And the footage that I found is uncensored. You heard me right. This game was originally so violent that the ESRB ended up rating it adults only, so Rockstar had to heavily censor it to get it released on major platforms. Just to reiterate, you might see a lot of gore in this video, and if that makes you feel uncomfortable, please feel free to go to another video. I'll understand. So with that out of the way, let's talk about Daniel Lamb. The first thing that you should know is that not even Danny is sure of his own past. We discover it with him throughout the game. What we do know about him at first is that he has been incarcerated at a mental institution for some time. But during a power outage, his friend Leo helps him escape from the institution. Danny then manages to make his way back home. But unfortunately, his old house is now in shambles. And throughout this particular level, we get to see the ghosts of his dead family. Why is his family dead? All will be explained in good time. So after rummaging through his house, and dispatching of any enemies that may stand in his way, Danny manages to get his hands on some drugs that help clear his mind. But if he wants to learn more about his past, he's going to have to travel further down the rabbit hole. He then finds an old matchbook and decides to investigate further. However, Leo is very much against that idea. So anyway, Danny sneaks into this nightclub. According to Leo, this nightclub is a brainwashing and recruiting center for something that is known as the Project. Obviously, Danny is undeterred by this. And when he's inside the club, he sees a woman that he recognizes. It ends up being a doctor that he used to work with. And when she sees Danny, she warns him that the project is out looking for him. And when Danny mentions Leo, she becomes rather surprised that he's even talking to Leo. Unfortunately, there's not enough time to explain what's going on. So she gives Danny the keys to his old safe house. When they finally get to the safe house, we're treated to a flashback level where we play as Leo, and the goal is to kill Danny's best friend. Leo tries to justify this by saying that their friend was putting their lives in danger. And then I just realized that if I were to talk about every level in this video game, we would be here for a while. I mean, shit, I'm here to talk about the protagonist, not the actual video game itself. So yeah, while I would love to talk about every twist and turn that this video game makes, that's not really the purpose of this video. Maybe another time. But probably not. Because, if you're that interested in the plot of the story, there are plenty of playthrough videos on YouTube. Okay, so now that I'm somewhat back on track, as the game progresses, we find out that Danny actually used to be a doctor, and he was also married with 2 children. But everything changed when the project came into the picture. Danny was originally just supposed to be a doctor working on the project, but for whatever reason, One day he decided to volunteer to be a test subject. Now, what is the project, I hear you asking? The project is a powerful organization that's able to have its own private armies. Other than that, I never really figured out what the project is. But the project that the project was working on, you know, the one that Danny volunteered for, that was pretty much an attempt to create the Manchurian Candidate. But unfortunately, things did not go as planned. Instead of being given the double personality of a well-trained and well-behaved assassin, the personality he ends up with is that of a psychotic killer, aka Leo. That's why throughout the game, Leo constantly encourages you to kill people.
That's it, Danny. An eye for an eye. It was either them or you. Remember that.
Danny only does it to survive. However, Leo does it for fun. So when you chase down and kill Danny's best friend, you are Danny. The same is unfortunately true for Danny when he kills his family. And that's when the project decides to have him institutionalized. So later on in the game, we find out that Leo wants to take over Danny's body. He's so fixated on doing this that he tracks down the main scientist from the project. However, when he's told that there is no way to reverse what has been done, he just kills him. So in the end, Danny has to travel deep within his own psyche to battle Leo one-on-one. And there are actually two different endings here. If you play as Danny in this mission, you end up in a cemetery when you're in your psyche. And you have to go bury your wife. And then after that, you finally manage to kill Leo once and for all.
My name is Daniel Lamb. My name is Daniel Lamb!
And then you wake up on the outskirts of a town you've never been to before with absolutely no memory of who you are. But luckily for you, you have plenty of identification listing you as David Joyner. With his new identity, Danny ends up walking towards town, looking to start life over, even though he can't even remember the one he had. And by the way, where the hell is this new town? The other ending, obviously, is when you play as Leo. Basically, you just kill Danny and take over his body, and then you wake up in the mental institution one day, and a nurse shows up asking you to come along with her. And before leaving your cell, you look into the mirror one last time to see the reflection of Leo. So there you go. That's my character study of Daniel Lamb. You know, I never really stopped to think about it, just how tragic this story is. And I'm pretty sure we all know why that's the case. I've always wanted Rockstar to make a Manhunt 3, but given how controversial the second one is, I highly doubt that's ever going to happen. Doesn't mean I can't keep my fingers crossed. Until then, I'm happy with what I've got. If you want to play a game that's tense and atmospheric, go ahead and play the original Manhunt. And if you want a decent story with some food for thought, then Manhunt 2 is the better game for you. All in all though, they're both great games. Anyway, thanks for watching, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye. This is a product of our great society.